Hey, this
Cool,
is
man.
Kieran, Coach's Corner Chats podcast. I'm excited today. I've got Andrew Green on with me today. Andrew, give us a little idea of what you're up to, where you're at, and all those good things.
Yeah, hey man, thanks for having me on. So currently, I am the assistant men's soccer coach at Albion College, small Division III school, about 45 minutes south of Lansing in Michigan. Um, I also work for National Soccer Club, which is a pretty big club in Michigan. I work for the Lansing branch as well. There's about, I want to say about 8 to 9 branches of Lansing or of Nationals in the Michigan area. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. With everything going on, not a whole lot to do in my college role. It's a lot of recruiting right now just because we had our fall canceled, and we're going to pick up our season in the spring, which, I mean, we're still hammering out the details of a training schedule and we have our game schedule set. But when now every single sport in a college is going on at once, trying to find training space and training time is going to be a little difficult.
Yeah, right on, right on. So, what did you guys do during the fall to kind of keep guys in the mix and at least maybe even your brain going?
Yeah, so we were able to train, I would say about 4 to 5 times a week the way we scheduled it. So all of our guys stayed on campus. They had the option to either go virtual or come to school and go to classes and do everything in person. So we trained about 4 times a week. We scheduled a few inter squad scrimmages during there. We did one where we actually, hired referees, made it as official as possible so that the guys felt like they were getting something
Nice.
out of the fall. But for once in the college world, I felt like we were actually able to have almost like a true preseason. When you're in the college game, you're kind of, guys report, you have a week to 10 days to train, and then you're into your first set of games. So we were actually able to, introduce our freshmen a little at a slower pace almost because, we didn't have games that we were rushing for.
Yeah.
It was a lot of development for our guys. And I felt like this spring was probably, or this fall was probably some of the most growth that I've seen out of a team that I've been involved with. Just because, like I said, nothing was wrong. Everything was kind of planned to tailor them and what their individual needs were and what we need to do as a team. So yeah, for me, it was great. Just because in the fall, I think my fiance knows that I'm home maybe for 2 hours a day.
Right on.
Yeah, so it was great. We had our normal office time. We still went recruiting to high school games during this fall when we were allowed to. In Michigan, there was a bit of a pause at the beginning, I would
Yeah.
say, before they started high school games about 3 weeks after what the normal schedule would be.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, for me, I got to do a lot of, reflecting on my sessions. I coach our goalkeepers a lot, and then I integrate with the team as well. So for me, I was able to draw up my session, then actually have time during the day to reflect on it and be like, okay, this worked, this didn't work. Maybe the next time we go, we change this. So for me personally, it was great from a coaching standpoint. Didn't enjoy the lack of games from a competitive standpoint, and just the kind of person that I am, and I think that our guys are. So yeah, that we did the best of what we had is really all I could say, and I think it ended up benefiting us quite a bit.
That's an interesting take. I like the idea of it. Sounds like you guys were able to reflect on the players, kind of trying to mesh the new guys in the mix. So it
Yeah.
gave you some time to kind of mess around, like you're talking about with your sessions. Like maybe I tweak my session next time and put so and so with a different group, or and what have you. What is How does that different than what your what your normal spring? Do you get that same opportunity in normal spring? If
So
it's
in a
winter
normal
off season
spring,
or
yeah, so a normal spring from a Division III standpoint, we're allotted I think it's about 15 practices and 1 day of competition is the way it's worded.
Okay.
So, and normally that would pick up for us from a team standpoint, like right after spring break, and we, try and stretch those 15 practices into until they go home for summer. So we'd only be going, twice a week. A normal fall, it's going every single day.
Yeah.
Which, this year with the way that COVID has kind of struck the college game, I think the guys are going to benefit. I mean, benefit in a way that, we're kind of going almost like year round now. You had a full fall without games, and then we're going to go into a spring where there's going to be 10 games.
Yep.
And, we're probably going to pick up our training, um, probably mid February if we start in March, just so we're able to integrate them, but with Michigan weather, you never know.
Yeah. Right on.
You never know what you're going to get. So, but yeah, it's definitely different. In our traditional spring, it's a little bit more slowed down. It's a little bit more individually tailored. When we're working with different position groups, which, what are we looking at from a individual standpoint? If you're a forward, are we looking at the mechanics of how you're hitting the ball, because we can slow it down a little bit. There's no pressure. We're not preparing for a game in 24 hours. So that's normally the differences. And then, from a coaching standpoint, we're doing a whole lot more recruiting in the spring. So just because, a lot of the club stuff's going on, different tournaments, different games. So this spring's definitely going to be a challenge from a coaching standpoint, trying to balance both of those things.
Yeah, that's going to be
But
kind of wild because you got to get out to I guess, club games more than because there's no high school options at this point.
right, yeah. So I felt like in the fall this year, it was great because we also weren't rushed when it came to a recruiting standpoint. I feel like in the fall, normally, with everything going on, you're training, you're prepping for a game. You want to get out and recruit high school games at night. You kind of feel like you're going, 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 going. It's kind of a never ending cycle for about 3-4 months.
Mhm.
Um, but this year, we were able to slow it down. Recruiting was done at a different pace, which meant that we were able to get out to a lot more games than we anticipated, which was, great for us and the student athletes that we're looking at.
Yeah, right.
And it also, gave us an opportunity to go to some high schools that we normally wouldn't be able to go to in a normal fall. If we wanted to go to a smaller high school and recruit from that level, normally we're looking at matchup games, to kind of maximize our time and seeing two teams.
Mhm.
This year, with everything that's going on, we were able to get out to some of the smaller high schools, some of I would say the less recruited areas, which has been very beneficial for us in the short term of our recruiting. Um, so yeah,
Find yourself a diamond in the rough. There's always a kid out there that gets overlooked because he is, like you said, maybe at a small school or what have you.
right.
That's crazy though to think at the college level that your off season only allows 15 training days
Yeah,
in
so for
the
the
spring.
Division 3 level,
My
yeah,
goodness.
the Division 3 level, that's normally how it goes. Division 1, Division 2, they are going 4 to 5 days a week from January to
Huh.
April. I think NAIA is the same way. I know from the Division 3 standpoint, because they're mostly focused on the academic side of students, because we cannot offer athletic aid,
Yeah.
so everything is tailored academically, um, which is great. For some point, for our guys, they get about a 2-month period with our strength conditioning coach, so they get a different face than myself and our head coach. So a little different person yelling at them. Um, but I think everywhere that I've been at the Division 3 level, it's been pretty beneficial, and I play Division 3 too, so it's something that I've just been used to.
Are you a Michigonian? Are you from Michigan?
So I'm actually not. I grew up in South Florida, actually. Yeah, as
South
crazy as it
Florida.
sounds.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for almost, yeah, all my life pretty much. Grew up played club, played high school. When it came to college, I went to a junior college for a year in Florida. Just felt it was the best path for me. And I actually transferred to a school up here in Michigan, Olivet College, where I played for 3 years. So since then, my coaching journey has kind of bounced me around to a couple places, but I've always landed back in Michigan. I met my fiance where we went to college together, so kind of laid the roots down here now, I guess. I do. It's nice to go visit Florida. I'll tell you that. We were
Oh, I
just,
bet.
we
I
were
bet.
able to visit. I appreciate it a lot more now. I'll tell you that.
um, so you were talking about nationals. It sounds like a large select club, like a very and I've heard of it. I know we have coach just went up there from Cincinnati, David Robertson
Yeah.
is up there, and he's constantly posting stuff. What's your experience in that realm of I guess I would say almost like high level club soccer?
Yeah. So at first it was different. This was my first experience really truly into like club soccer and coaching. When I was in Florida for a little bit in junior college, I was coaching a little bit, but it was at a very, very small select club. I mean, we're talking maybe 60, 70 kids throughout the whole club.
Okay.
So it was very small. And then when I came up here and jumped into coaching, originally I was just going to go into college coaching, and then I wanted to expand it a little bit and go into club and deal with that age group as well. And when I came with nationals, it's definitely been a transition, but everything that I've dealt with has been pretty good. Someone like David, who just came on, has spearheaded a lot of the programs that we have, whether with the lockdowns and everything, with the Techni football app, all the different we've had so many different programs that I can't even remember all of them, but he does such a great job just doing that stuff. And when it comes to like the club in general, everything's been handled at like the top level, and it's really great because the resources that we need to do what we want to do with our players, the tournaments that we want to go to, everything has been kind of taken care of at that level, because you're kind of dealing with I don't want to word it that way, but I guess the skill level that would be expected at a higher end club.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, everything, we've had coaches where we can bounce off at different locations. Someone like David, who's in the academy or the girls academy side. Then we have coaches in a different area that are also coaching college and that coach the club as well. So from a coaching standpoint and a growth, it's definitely been good to just bounce ideas off. And in our branch alone, we're a pretty tight knit group. We bounce our sessions off each other. We bounce different things of how we're dealing with our teams, especially through this period. We all sit down and we'll go have a drink and dinner after our sessions and talk about things. So it's definitely been good. Nationals has kind of been one of the better experiences that I've had so far coaching. So yeah.
That's awesome that it sounds like you're still, even though you're at where you're at, you're looking for that opportunity to continue to learn. And like, there might be something I can pick up, or like you said, I can come back to my staff and say, hey, we might want to look at adding this, whatever
Yeah.
diagnostic tool in, or analytical thing, or something where we can diagram things and such. So what are you going to be coaching, like a specific group?
So for me, I just took over. So I do our branch's goalkeeping. I do it from I think whenever we start at the age group that it starts, which I normally pair them off into 3 groups. It'll be a U10 and under, a U11 to U13, and then I tailor U14 in high school up. So it's just 3 different. I don't want an 18-year-old and a 10-year-old going at one time.
Right on.
So I do all of our goalkeeping there. And then I have 2 high school boys teams that I'll be coaching this spring. I have an 06 team, which is the freshmen in high school, and I have a couple of 8th graders sprinkled in there just because of the weird gap year that
Yeah, right. Yeah.
age brings on.
Yeah.
And then I have our 2002 boys team, which is actually it's a mixture of 2002, 2003. So it's our juniors and sophomores in high school who will be doing a lot of the showcase tournaments, and it's just an age group for me that I've been used to for most of my coaching career, whether it's the college or high school level. Eventually, I'd like to dive into a younger age group and just test myself a little bit, but we'll save that for another year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So have you always dealt with like the boy side? Have you ever had
So,
any experience with the girls?
so yeah, when I got out of college, I was actually coaching high school, and I was coaching boys and girls at the time at Olivet High School. And then my first college job was at Western Carolina University, which is a Division I school in North Carolina with the women's program.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yes, so the first 2 years of my coaching, I was there doing the goalkeepers, doing helping with our recruiting, learning how to run our camps, and then after that, I coached for a year at Western Michigan University on their women's side as well.
Okay.
So I've done a bit of the girls' side for high school for a year, and then I've done the college side, which was the more higher end college, the Division I side, which was its own challenge in itself. Um, and yeah, that's basically been my experience with the girls.
Is Division 3 maybe for you like a better fit after going through like Division 1 and seeing the demands and all that kind of stuff?
I think from where I was starting my coaching career, going into a Division I program, I think I was a little overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
Not only with the demand, but it is like a full-time job. And I didn't anticipate that going in, because I was on a part-time deal at Western Carolina. But the planning that goes into everything, the recruiting, even when you're in your off season, there really isn't any stopping. And I think that when I wanted to eventually transition over to the men's side, I knew that Division 3 was where I wanted to go, just because where I was playing, and I felt like I would relate a little better to our athletes that way through my college experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I went to a school that had 1,200 students in a very small town, so I can relate to a lot of the smaller Division 3 schools, and the experience that they're going to get. So when I'm recruiting athletes, I'm not just blowing smoke up them. I have a little bit of an idea of what they're going to experience, and
Exactly.
how it's going to go. And yeah, just it is a better fit for me right now. I did like the women's game a lot. The girls that I worked with were absolutely fantastic at both universities, and the coaching staffs that I worked with there were great. And just being able to pick their brains every day when I was there was something that has helped me like really transition to the men's side, because the men's and women's game, there are their differences, but the game's the game at the end of the day.
Yeah. I just love the fact that everywhere you've gone, like even if it wasn't like you said, you kind of were able to self-reflect and figure out, you know what, maybe I need to go somewhere else. But even from that, it feels like you learned something from there. I'm sure you learned some in Western Michigan from the high school experience. Um, the other thing I was thinking about, so did you play keeper in high? Like, was that what you played as a youngster, or have you just become kind of
So
fascinated with goalkeeping?
So, actually, when I was really young, I played goalkeeper, but my coach actually transitioned me out to center back because I was growing a little bigger than most people at the time,
Okay.
and my feet were a little bit better. I should have probably stayed at goalkeeper because my feet have gone away since I've turned 30. I'm about to turn 30. Um, but I played center back through college, through high school, college, and club. When I was offered a chance to coach at Western Carolina, they said they were looking for a goalkeeper coach, and I knew that I wanted to get into college coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So the associate head coach who was there, he was a goalkeeper, but since there was only, we have to spread our staff out, he was working with everyone at the time. He said, I'm going to take you under my wing. I'll help you out through all the goalkeeper stuff if this is something that you really want to do. and I knew to kind of get my foot in the door that I needed to do it, and I've
Yeah.
kind of become fascinated with it since, just because the way the goalkeeper sees the game, you kind of see everything, and it's kind of helped expand my thinking with field players of, now I'm looking at it from not just a center back's role, but I'm looking at it from a goalkeeper. I'm looking at it from a midfield position, looking at it from a forward position. So that's probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me when it came to coaching. It kind of definitely expanded my way of either planning a session or looking at a scouting report, or coming up with a game plan was kind of just looking at it from more than just one position.
That's really cool. The idea of, you get the one thing I think sometimes you've even said it, like I've done college and I've done like the high school age. It's cool now, but I'd like to try younger. And like you've tried different things, even the opportunity to do goalkeeping was kind of like out of your comfort level. But I think it's cool that you went into it because you knew you're going to learn so much from it. So it looks like it's now helped you so that when you go on to uh, whatever the next thing is, which I was going to ask, is there an ultimate like goal? Does Andrew say, hey, I want to be a head coach at a college level? Or
I think that is the ultimate goal eventually. I've had a couple opportunities already that just wasn't the right timing. I just felt like at the time I wasn't ready to be a head coach, and if I'm going to step into something, I don't want to, half it, or kind of, be thrown to the wolves. I think the next step for me is hopefully to be a college head coach and, kind of take all the ideas and all the different things that I've learned and kind of put it into my way of, running a program, and, how I want to recruit and how I want to play, and, the culture that I want to build. So hopefully that is the next step. I've enjoyed every step of being an assistant. I think as an assistant coach, you kind of get a little bit more, you're a little bit more active on the training pitch, which I like. I like to be a little bit more hands-on in training. I think from what I've seen from different coaches that I've either worked with or observed, a head coach is kind of like a CEO that oversees everything, and kind of lets the assistants, put their ideas into motion. It would be the best way to put it.
yeah.
I'm hoping that eventually, the right place, the right school, and the right time. That's the ultimate goal.
Do you see yourself as when you go to that head coaching spot, do you think you'll be a CEO type coach, or would you rather be a little bit more hands-on?
Um,
Maybe it depends on staffing and stuff like that.
I think, I think I want to kind of be a little bit of both, just because I've had, coaches that will, as that CEO type, will kind of, let me be hands-on and let me grow and let me learn and do things like that. And, as having an assistant coach, that's kind of what you're there for. But, also, there are times where I want to be hands-on. I think like one of the biggest things for me is I'm pretty hands-on when it comes to recruiting, whether as a assistant coach or a head coach. That's one thing that I'm always going to be pretty hands-on with. I'm not going to just send someone to, go look at players and bring me back a report. I kind of want to be almost in the trenches of that, so to say. That's something that I thoroughly enjoy, going and evaluating, and, watching soccer. So I think as the head coach, I definitely want to, a little bit of both, I guess, would be the best way to put it. When it's time to be hands-on, maybe step in, but when it's not, kind of let my assistants grow and, experience how they want to do things. And if it's time for me to step in or correct them or, give them advice, then that's what we'll do.
It sounds like too that you've lucked out. I don't want to say lucked out, but you've ended up on some quality coaching staffs that have given you opportunities to kind of like not necessarily fall on your face, but just kind of learn your way through it and what have you. Even at the
Yeah.
nationals, it sounds like you've got a good network of coaches. I mean, that's I think something that I'm learning from doing these podcasts and what have you, is that there's so many guys that want to help each other, because eventually the end goal is we want quality soccer here in the US. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, my first job at Western Carolina, well, actually, my first coaching job when I was in high school, when I was the head coach, that was the first time I was kind of given head coaching role, and I kind of was thrown into the wolves a little bit. But I had a little bit of experience just from coming off college. I actually, asked two of my roommates who were two of my teammates, "Hey, do you want to coach with me?" um, you know, and I think we all kind of learned on the spot there. But then when I kind of took the jump into college coaching, the guys that I worked with at Western Carolina, Chad Miller, Todd Herman, are two guys that they were willing to give me a chance, but they were also willing to like say, hey, here's some advice, but you know what, if you're with the goalkeepers, go, run the session that you want. We'll watch from a distance. If there's advice that we need to give you, we'll give it to you. If there's times where one of us needs to step in and, do something, don't take it personal. We're just trying to help you out, and we're just trying to help the team out. And I think that's one of the biggest things. And, when I went into my next position at Western Michigan, when we took, it felt like a giant leap because the staff that I was working with there, Lauren, who was the head coach, is now at Notre Dame as an assistant. Her level of thinking was just next level. I would think of something, and she would think of something that kind of took it to the 10th degree, which was great for me because I always had to kind of stay on my toes and how was I thinking? Was I thinking to this degree? And it really helped me just expand the way that I was thinking of the game. So then when I came to the men's side at Olivet College, I was able to coach in my alma mater for 2 years. You know, I was kind of able to then, our coach there kind of gave the two assistants free reign, said, hey, this is how we want to play. I'm going to help draw up sessions, but there's going to be times where you guys are going to take about 3/4 of the session. So, and now where I'm at Albion, my boss right now is kind of the same way. He'll say, we'll set some time parameters like, hey, you're going to have the goalkeepers for about half the session, then we're going to integrate them. And I want you to take a little bit more than just the goalkeepers and kind of integrate them into the back line or into how the midfield is going to play, and just kind of have, free reign with it. And then we'll reflect and discuss after the session. So it's definitely been, a little bit of thrown to the wolves and see what happens. But, there's always that little safety net behind me to help me out.
that's kind of cool because it's almost like a glorified coaching course, like, where you get to do it and you're got an evaluator that's watching and then will give you insight like, hey, next time maybe try this or try that, which I think's like
Yeah.
invaluable to get that kind of stuff. And even when you're talking to them, say, hey,
Yeah.
this is why I did it the way I did. And like you talked about with the coach that's now at Notre Dame, where she's like, I love that idea. Maybe try, and then she would add that next level too, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
what is a what does an assistant coach do during the game? So what's some of your responsibilities game wise?
So for me, it's been different everywhere that I've gone, but most recently, I have a little bit of a different demeanor on the sideline. You'll hardly ever see me yelling and screaming, at least for the first 15, 20 minutes while I'm evaluating the game. Maybe if the referee makes a bad call, then we'll see what happens. But um, yeah. So for me, during the game, I have my notebook out and I am taking tons of notes. I am always looking at our opponent and what their formation is, what their tendencies are. Does it match the scouting report that I came up with a day before this? Where can we expose them? And I'm kind of putting little tidbits in our head coach's ear of, hey, our right winger can expose their left back. Let's try and push the ball to that side. So for me, I'm always taking notes. I'm always evaluating the other team. And after that, I'm kind of looking at where we're going to expose them and kind of look at little tactical mindset, little tactical nuances of where we can, expose the other team. When it comes to a little bit in-game coaching, I have a little bit of a say. I'm more, looking at, little tiny shifts. I'm not going to make anything drastic. I'm not going to make a formation change in the middle of the game. It's kind of our head coach and I were kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. So yeah, I'm kind of, it's almost like a co-coach almost.
Yeah.
The head coach always has the final say. But I think that's one of the things that I enjoy as well about being an assistant is I'm able to look at the game through more of a tactical lens and, not as, not in that physical lens right away, like where a head coach is kind of looking at our, um, what's our body language like? Did we come out flat? Did we come out flying? For me, I'm kind of focused on, what's our opponent doing in the beginning, and then from there on, it's how are we adjusting and what can we expose.
So if I go watch you coach and your nationals group, would you take a similar approach of being kind of chill for the first 10 minutes or so to kind of take it in? Or do you think it
Yeah,
changes a little bit?
yeah, I think a little bit with my nationals group, since I'm kind of overseeing a little bit more of that head coaching role. Um, I think to a degree, the first 5-10 minutes, I'm normally looking at the opponent and how we're set up and how they're set up, and then from there, I'm not the type of person that likes to joystick during games.
Mhm.
I don't like to tell the players what to do or how to do it and keep talking to them. I like to kind of give them free reign. And if I can help them figure it out on the fly, then we'll do that. But I kind of want them to sort it out a little bit between themselves. Just because that's kind of the nature of our game. This isn't basketball where we can call timeouts
Yeah.
and make adjustments. So I like to give them the free reign. This is their game. I'm going to oversee it a little bit. I'm going to oversee if we need to make a tactical change. I'm going to oversee it if we need to make a personnel change. But other than that, yeah, I like to let the guys figure it out and let them kind of take ownership of how they're going to go about the game.
Is that something that you have to communicate to the players beforehand? Like, don't go into freak out mode if I'm chilling for the first 5 minutes and let you play. Is that something you kind of say,
Yeah,
hey, I'm gonna sit back and watch, but like you're the problem solvers, you're the ones playing. You're gonna have to figure some
yeah,
things out.
yeah. I think that's definitely something that I mentioned, and the guys, especially at the club level, will see with me. I'm a little bit more hands-on in training.
Mhm.
Because just for that reason, like when we get into the games, I've given you the tools in training. Now it's your guys' turn to kind of take that and put it into a game setting. So they'll know from me, like first 5-10 minutes, I'm kind of sitting there evaluating and looking at different tactical things. And yeah, I'm gonna be probably sitting in my chair for the first 5-10 minutes. I won't be up pacing the sidelines until later on, but yeah, it's just something that I like. I like to be a little bit more hands-on in training. If I can stop them in training and show them a different scenario, like, hey, this is where you're going to see this in a game. You know, um, for instance, right now with everything going on, we've been doing a lot of Zoom sessions, and I've been trying to keep it to tactical sessions, and I try to keep it to 15-20 minutes because kids nowadays they're on Zoom for 8 hours a day with school, and
Yeah.
I don't need them to be on any longer, and I know they're not going to pay attention past 20-25 minutes on a Zoom session. So one of the biggest things that we've been looking at is where we can create overloads in the wide areas. So we put on different scenarios from different games, and I'll ask them different questions. Okay, the winger has cut in. What's the cue for that? Okay, the cue for that is the outside back to go forward now. So where would we see this in a game? Okay, maybe in the final third, maybe in the middle third. Hardly ever in our own defensive third. So that's just different ideas so that when they get into the game and they see these different movements, it's a cue for that. This is now time for that player to move.
That's I love the idea of just like talking the game. The kids don't I don't think they do it enough. When they watch games more now, hopefully, than what they used to. I think there's so many more games on TV and streaming and what have you. But they get so locked into skill moves, or did you see the goal that was scored, or the crazy save, or the shot, over a wall, and they miss some of the nuances. So I think it's really cool that you're bringing it, but without just saying, "Hey, here's what should happen." You're kind of
Yeah.
leaving them with those questions.
Yeah, like one of the things that I proposed to like my team yesterday was, hey, what, they all know I'm a big Manchester United fan, and it's finally paying off after the last 5 years. um, but I told them, I was like, hey, I'm going to watch the Liverpool game, and I turned it on when I saw the lineup, and I said, what do you guys see that that I'm seeing? What's something similar in the lineup that you don't see? One kid out of both of my teams noticed that Liverpool wasn't playing with any true center backs. I was like, you guys didn't realize that both of their holding mids are playing center backs? No, we don't. Well, we didn't know who the center backs were. Okay, well, we need to watch more soccer.
Yeah, right on. I think that's cool too for them going forward, because that's a skill, I'm sure, because with nationals being at a level, a lot of those kids have aspirations to go play at college. So the
Yeah.
next thing you're teaching them now is, like, when Albion goes and plays so and so in these 10 games, your guys need to know who the people are, where do they usually play, like, because you don't know if someone got injured in training the day before you guys play, and then they change their,
Yeah.
roster up a little bit or setting. You can't be the one going, "Oh, hey, did anybody notice that now," like in that scenario, there's a different set of center backs than what we were planning on seeing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely one of the things that I see. That's definitely one of the things that I see as a college coach. That's honestly one of the first things I do, because we as colleges exchange rosters at the beginning. It normally has their starting 11 circled.
Yep.
So the first thing that I do is, look at my scouting report and the starting 11 and kind of match numbers and see if it's the same exact 11 that I saw on video 5 days ago or whatever it is. Because I mean, at that point, then I've got to make an adjustment in the first 5 minutes to be like, okay, who's playing where? Who do I need to communicate that to? Do I need to communicate to our target forward that number 7 is now the center back instead of number 5? Or the one that we saw coming off the bench, number 12, is now starting at outside back. We saw that he was not as athletic in video, so now we know that we need to attack that side. So yeah, that's definitely something that I have started to pick up a little bit more in the college level, at least. Club, it's a little bit more different just because we're not exchanging rosters, and
Yeah, right on.
coaches are a little bit more secretive of what they want to do. And even though we're all friends, we still want to win. And,
Exactly.
stuff.
So what if you were talking to your nationals group, what's the difference between like the club setting and then that transition to college? What things would you point out, like, hey, here's some things you're going to have to be ready for?
Um, from a play standpoint, the game is about twice as fast as what you're used to, at least. You're going up against guys who are now grown men, 18 to 22 years old. So everything's going to be a little quicker. You got to think a lot faster. You got to move your feet a lot better. Your touch has to be set up in the right direction. Whatever way you want to play. If I know that I'm going to play it to my left, I don't want to take a touch across my body with my right. I kind of want to simplify it a little bit and just know that I don't have as much time as what I'm used to. The college game in America is a lot more physical than people think. Um, you know, it's just different styles of play, and I can relate it to a lot of people. I'll get into a little bit of healthy arguments with about this. We look at, you know, go into England, there's people that joke around that, there's Pep Guardiola that plays this pretty style of soccer. There's Jurgen Klopp that plays this high pressing rock and roll style of soccer. And then you have, the Sam Allardyces that kind of play it extremely direct. Well, we do have that here in America, so it's not all that bad.
Yeah.
We have different styles of play, and it's the same at the college level. There's teams that are very direct, and then there's teams in our conference that, will try and keep the ball for 80% of the game. So I think that's something that everyone has to get a little bit more used to. There's going to be games where things aren't going to be as pretty as you want it to be. And it's just how you kind of adjust with that. Do you take more touches on the ball? Probably not. You probably keep things a little bit more simpler. And then when it just comes to a personal standpoint, you got to love the game, um, especially in college. It's going to be a lot of your life. Especially in the fall, it's going to be 5 to 6 days of your life. If it's not something that you love, you're going to get burnt out pretty quick. Especially in the fall where you're going to class, going to practice. Maybe at night you go get some sort of treatment on your legs. Yeah, you're probably having about out of your day about 3 to 4 hours to yourself. So if you're not really in love with the game, it's going to get old really quickly. And it's just gonna be a pain, honestly, if you're not in love with it and you're not gonna enjoy it. So I mean, it's definitely one of the best decisions I ever made was to go on and play college soccer. I made a great group of guys that, two of my teammates will be in my wedding. I've met some of the best guys that I've ever been around. We had a lot of fun. We won some games. We had fun off the field. So it's definitely one of the best experiences that I have had. But if you don't love the game, it's something that's probably not for everyone, which is okay. Everyone has their own paths.
Yeah, I think it's awesome the idea or things you were sharing about like the love for the game. Like it's pretty much a job in a way, in terms
Mhm.
of your time commitment and what have you. And I think that's where some kids, when you talk to them, they kind of just see all the stuff that's on ESPN and all this kind of and you see the game and you're like, you don't understand all that's gone into that from, like you said,
Yeah,
like the treatments. Like some guys are done, but then they have to go take an ice bath or get stuff taped or
yeah,
and what have you. So there's always tons of little things in there. And then even like you were talking about with the coaching side, um, is which I'm learning more as I get into the high school is that it's nonstop, like it's ongoing. Even at Albion, I'm sure still a consistent, like even now it's changed, flipped completely around
yeah.
with everything that's going on um, with that. Here's my other question. So, fiance loves soccer, loves you coaching. Is she a big support? How does that dynamic work with all
um,
this?
it's definitely it's been a ride. I'll say that. She's definitely extremely supportive of me coaching, which is extremely grateful for that
Yeah,
because some of the
wow.
time that's spent away from here. I know, like, in this fall alone, there was times where I'm heading out of the house at 5 a.m. for a 6:30 training, and I'm not getting home till 11 o'clock because I went to high school games later that night. So she's definitely supportive. She's learning to love soccer. I'll say that way. She's turned into a pretty big Manchester United fan,
Oh, there you go.
which has been great for me because if she went to Liverpool, I don't know if we'd still be together. But
It could have been broke it
she
off.
turned, yeah, so 2 years ago we went to England for a week on a vacation because she actually loves like the royal family and all that
Okay.
stuff. So I had been before. I had two stipulations. I said, hey, if we go, I just want 2 days to do two soccer things. We're going for 8. You can have the other 6. So she actually was a trooper and went with me to a Premier League game. We went and saw Chelsea against Wolves,
Wow.
which was it was great because we sat in the supporters end, and she now realized how passionate and some of the things that were said out of people's mouths were pretty
Oh,
unreal. But
yes, I bet they were
and
very
then
interesting.
and then the other day, we took the train to Manchester and we went and toured Old Trafford. And I think she became a bigger Manchester United fan at that point than I was, which was pretty cool to see.
That's awesome. I love the idea of almost like incorporating her into the whole experience. Like, look, come and see what my world's like. See what I love about this game of soccer. I'm not saying that you have to be diehard and understand all the coaching
Yeah.
cues and stuff, but um, I think that's awesome because I've talked to some other coaches and they're in the same, like they constantly always talk about their significant other is huge in, just having that person to come back and just when you want to get away from the game a little bit. It's
Yeah,
always
yeah,
good
that's
to have
definitely
someone.
been something for us, in the fall, and normally before the fall in a normal season, we'll set like a weekend getaway or something like the week before it all starts, just because I know that we both know the time that's going to be spent in the next 3 or 4 months where, we're going to see each other for maybe 2 hours a day, even though we live together. Um, so we normally do that, but yeah, she's been extremely supportive. She's, if we, I, I think that if I'm ever a head coach, I think that she'll be like my players' moms at some point. She's always been like, "Yeah, you should have them over." I was like, "No, I don't want to cook for them right now. I know you guys do.
I see them enough. They can go to the
We'll
dining
see.
hall.
We see them enough. Yeah, we'll have that eventually."
That is so awesome. Andrew, I have royally enjoyed this chat. It's been so cool to kind of hear
Yeah,
from South
absolutely.
Florida to Carolina to Michigan, and it sounds like between your college experience right now with Albion and then this nationals, it sounds like an awesome like springboard for you to hopefully. I can't wait to keep up with you and see if that head coaching thing um, makes fruition. But it sounds like you are smart about like where like I'm patient. Let me just see where my feet are and where let me just kind of figure things out. And like you said, if it's the right fit, then we may we make the jump.
Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of coaches, kind of leave the game because it's not the right fit, or leave a program within 3 years because it's not the right fit. I know for me that if I'm getting into a head coaching role, like I want it to be long term. I want it to be the right fit for not only me, the school itself. I know I'm a different kind of coach, maybe. A lot of the college coaches, you'll see the yelling and screaming and the pacing up and down the sidelines. um, I know there's a time and a place for that, but I can't do it for 90 minutes without going home with a migraine. um, and I know it's a long year, so I don't want to do that 2 to 3 times a week. But yeah, it's a coaching journey. It's going to take you different places, and that's something that I've learned only being in this about 6 years now. um, I've been to 3 states. I've met a lot of fantastic people in the game. So yeah, it's a journey, and we'll see where it takes it. Hopefully that head coaching job is sooner rather than later, but the right fit is all that matters.
Right on, right on. Hey, if people
Yeah,
want to
man.
follow along with you and Albion and your nationals experience, how can they contact you and connect?
Yeah, so I'm always on Twitter, probably a little too much than I should be at times. My handle is at Coach Greener. My nickname is college was Greener from my last name, so just stuck Coach on it now. You can follow Albion. We're on every single platform at Albion M Soccer, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We try and do a pretty good job with that and keep up to date with things. Yeah, nationals. We're on Twitter. Dave does a really good job of putting out really cool stuff and really good graphics, and really promoting the kids and the club. So Twitter, social media. If anybody wants to reach out to me, email agreen@albion.edu. I always love, like, just like this. I'll sit and talk for hours with people about the game. Um, Answer any questions anyone has about recruiting or the college process, or any coaching things that I can help. Still pretty new to this, with only 6-7 years under my belt so far. So, but I'll help any way that I can, because like you said, everyone's looking for a little bit of help, and I'll pay my dues back to the coaching community and help anyone that I can, because a lot of people have stuck their neck out on the line for me and helped me along my journey.
Right on.
Yeah,
And
man.
so Andrew and I connected a little bit pretty recently on Twitter. And some of the stuff that he has shared, like I always throw out questions or whatever, and Andrew throws some really great ideas in terms of some tactics. We didn't get in any like tactical, like the actual breakdown of games and stuff, but just from his responses and stuff, I can tell that he's got like he was talking about earlier about his idea with the Notre Dame coach or assistant coach. I, I'm the ideas that you've already shared. I'm like, dude is a smart. soccer coach. I can just tell just from
Thank
those
you.
couple of replies and stuff and what have you. So super excited. Can't wait for people to see this thing. I'll wrap this thing up. Hey, this is Karen with Coaches Chats Podcast, and I'm out. Peace.